It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman, and with us on this Thursday is our executive director here at Redeemer Radio, Cindy Black, for Theology, the Body Thursday. Thanks for being here, Cindy.
Good morning.
Today we are talking about self-care and maybe kind of reining it in a little bit and realizing the limits to self-care I'm kind of curious if there's a line or if it's a gray area when it starts to turn into self-indulgence and if that is necessarily a bad thing.
I would say self-indulgence is a bad thing.
Okay.
But there's varying degrees of
Sure.
it, like almost everything that we talk about in Theology of the Body, that notion of self-gift, that our bodies and souls are made in a particular way, and there are certain needs that our bodies and our souls and our brains have. So self-care really, the notion of self-care should really be making sure that we have what we need to be the person that God created us to be self-gift to others in the world. Mm-hmm. The body's natural needs are for nutrients and hydration, for exercise and for rest. Our brains need various levels of stimuli, but also need rest. Mm-hmm. Our souls need union with God and union with other people. So looking at our needs being fulfilled is very different than kind of our wants. And I know I can be really guilty of using the word need.
Right. And
also thinking I need one thing when perhaps I need another. So I was thinking of a couple of examples. Sometimes by Friday, the work week's been crazy or things at home have been crazy. Sometimes I'll kind of joking around, but not joking around, say, I need a drink. Uh-huh. And I think what I really mean is I need to calm myself. I need, some downtime.
Right.
I need to either breathe or be quiet or clear my head. So checking ourselves to say, what do I really need? Mm-hmm. I know sometimes I'll think I need a vacation. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'll catch myself thinking, Cindy, what a first world perspective that is.
Right.
And thinking there are women in this world who will never have the luxury of a vacation. Mm-hmm. I think of single moms. I think of people in extreme poverty. They don't have that luxury.
Right.
So can I really need a vacation? If not every human person has access to it,
right,
can it really be a need?
Yeah.
Or is it a want? And is there a way that I think it's important to look at, like, something's not right. I'm not in a necessarily healthy place mentally or spiritually or physically. What do I need to do to get into that place so that I can be better self-gift?
Yeah.
You asked if there was a line. It's all about discernment and seeking God's will, mm-hmm. and in an honest, ready to receive kind of way. I mean, when Jesus was carrying the cross, I'm sure he could be thinking, I need a lot of things. I need somebody, I need to stop this suffering. I need something for the pain. But he embraced that.
There was a greater need.
Yes. The greater need was saving us.
Right.
And showing his love for us. So I think in that sense, looking to him and saying, help me to see where it's an actual need and what is the best way? What is the holiest way to fulfill that need so that I can be self-gift, not ignoring the need, but how can I take care of myself in a way that I can pour myself out better?
Right. And really that example of Jesus, he gave up maybe an infinite number of wants for the needs of other people. So it wasn't even his need that he was fulfilling, right? Like, so he was sacrificing, yes. Like, I want comfort. I want, to sit down and not have to do this, but these people need me to do this.
Yeah. Actually, I was trying to get together with a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and she kept texting me like dates and times. And I'm like, no, I have a committee meeting this day. And then she texted me a couple more. No, I have this. And she texted me back, you need a spa day, ! And I'm like, no, I'm doing my job. These are just, things. But I think we can get into this mentality where we can think that we kind of deserve pampering, where there's this expectation that we are pampered. And I'm not sure where the line is on that, but I think that can be self-indulgent.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anyone who goes to a spa is being self-indulgent, but I do think we need to discern how often are we doing things like that? Is it really helping us to be a better self-gift, and is it in balance with other responsibilities and things? Because research shows that some of the best things to do to help us mentally, physically, spiritually are serving others or prayer. So maybe those might be the first things that we turn to, and then see if that does help whatever we think we're lacking. But the honest thing is, this side of the beatific vision, we're always going to feel lacking.
Sure.
We're never going to be fulfilled this side of complete union with God.
Yeah. And that idea of self-care, and I think I'm hearing you say that you're not telling people not to take care of yourself.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people in ministry. I see there's a lot of people getting burnt out in ministry, youth ministers that are working 20-hour days, and they're with kids all day long, and they're getting burnt out because they're not taking care of themselves. They're not focusing on their own prayer life.
Right.
And so we do need to take care of ourselves. Not saying not to do that, but to realize, when are we venturing into this indulgent place?
Right. And I think in that aspect, we can't give what we don't have. So we do need to allow the Lord to fill our cup so that we can, overflow onto others. We also aren't doing anyone any good if we're not getting the proper sleep. And now, that's easy to say, but when you have a newborn baby, I don't know many parents that get enough sleep.
Right.
So in that sense, you learn to function other ways. You know that you're sleep deprived, but you still do the best that you can. And it's kind of a reminder of, our frailty and an opportunity for humility, to not be as clear mentally because we've been deprived of sleep, but to recognize that, and honestly to think, okay, it won't be like this forever. Maybe for the next 20 years, I won't have a full night's sleep, but God will give me what I need, and look for other ways to get that rest, and then helping one another out. I think recognizing in the people around us if it doesn't seem like they're in a healthy sense of self-care, and then being willing to help them identify things that would help them, and sacrificing maybe our own comfort to help them in an area that they need.
Yeah. We're talking with Cindy Black here for Theology About a Thursday, talking about the difference between self-care and self-indulgence, and the difference between needs and wants. And I think some of it is just terminology. And when somebody says you need a spa day, they're not saying like you need that for your survival, or or you're going to break. It's kind of an expression like a kid that says they're starving.
Right.
You're not actually starving. You're just hungry. So some of that's just maybe kind of evolution of language, where we can try to be more accurate in what we say. Probably don't want to be the annoying person that's like, do you really need that to every single person?
Right.
But there might be some people that you could have that conversation with. But what are some other ways that we should be aware of what we're saying or what we're doing that maybe people aren't even thinking of?
In my own life, I've been trying to recognize when a complaint pops into my head, to try to put it in the proper perspective. Just some simple examples. If my washing machine is not working properly, and I'm thinking, this is awful and stressful and things like that, to stop myself and say, you know what? At least every day, every time I wash clothes, I don't have to go seek clean water, and, kind of looking at the blessings, the things that we take for granted, perhaps, and seeing them as a blessing rather than an inconvenience or a complaint. And when my refrigerator needs cleaned out, thinking, what a blessing it is that we have refrigeration and that I have an abundance of food in there and things like that. So stopping myself, and that I believe that is a form of self-care, because the more positive thoughts that we have and the more gratitude we have in our hearts, the more healthy we will be also.
Yeah.
If we can turn things into, recognize everything as gift, then, and even when difficulties come along, be thankful for the times that those difficulties aren't there and recognize it as something passing. But even things, I mean, people face serious illnesses and things like that. So I'm not trying to minimize that. It ultimately comes down to recognizing that nothing happens to us that is not outside of God's providence. He can bring good out of anything. And not that he wills bad things to happen to us.
Right.
And I think we have to be careful, because that can be very hurtful to somebody who has suffered a tragedy, like the loss of a child or something, to say, well, everything happens for a reason,
Right.
or, well, God has a plan. Yes, God has a plan. It wasn't like God had this plan that he wanted your child to suffer and die,
Right.
or, a loved one to be, whatever the thing is that we're suffering. But he can bring good out of it if we turn to him and allow him. But we might not see that good even in this lifetime. That's where it comes down to the trust that he is good and wants what's best for us ultimately.
And that concept you're talking about, appreciating what we have, I think a lot of times our baseline might be skewed because we're comparing ourselves to the people around us. And we think like, oh, we have to have 2 vehicles for our family because that's what everybody has, or whatever it is. And I think this is where, going back to what you're saying of being of service, mission trips, just being aware of the world and what other people are going through can maybe kind of help us reset that baseline of, oh, I don't actually need these things. Those people are doing just fine without it. So maybe this isn't a need, it's just a want. And kind of realizing where we are in the world.
We all need to reflect on ourselves, but it can be tempting. When I hear people complain about like a priest homily, how long it went or something, I want to say, do you know that Christians are dying in the world for practicing their faith? And we're like, oh, my 10 more minutes out of my week because Father went on and on. Like, okay, I think there is a time where we have to think, where have we kind of, I know I've been spoiled in a lot of ways. So looking at that and saying, what is a reasonable expectation for things in my life? And what are the things that are healthy? But what are the things that really are a preference and not either a need or a genuine complaint?
Right. All right. Well, another great topic that ties in with theology of the body. And one thing we didn't even get into is how this affects the rest of the body of Christ, and how just self-care and taking care of others. And I think there's probably a tie in there. But thank you so much, Cindy, for another Theology of the Body Thursday. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle.
If you have any suggestions or questions about Theology of the Body, we could cover that on a future episode. Just email show@redeemerradio.com. Our thanks to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting this show, and for all of those that support Redeemer Radio. We appreciate you. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of The Kyle Hyman Show. Until then, remember to leave room for the Holy Spirit.